scholars were saying these disciples, very poor, they were just fishermen. Now, if the disciples who were invited by Jesus himself, please come and you follow me. I'm going to make you into, come and you follow me. I'm going to make you a fisher of men. Between the one who called and the one who were called, and these ones who were called were foolish, of the two, who is more foolish? Please help me. I am the one who called, I am Jesus. And I called the poor, foolish fishermen. Between the one who called Jesus and the ones who were called, who is more foolish? Huh? The caller, if that is true English. Now, as you go to make a judgment, be careful. You might touch in the lion's mouth. Overly believing you know better than God, or even trying to fully explain all of God's ways. Do you know that we make arguments and we feel like God is true? By the way, our sister A.M.D. White one time said, we shall receive 3 surprises in heaven, but one of the surprises we shall receive, one, because you know who you are, you will be surprised to be in heaven. And you see how God was. Did he really make a good judgment? And it is the reason why we shall even put up our crown. We say, Jesus, if you know how you did it, this belongs to you. Number 2, there are people who you thought would make it to heaven, who may not be there. But the most other big surprise are the people you never thought. Talk of people like Saddam Hussein or others. I don't know whom you call evil. Or even maybe whomsoever. When they are seated in heaven next to Jesus. They say, how did this man make it here? When he was almost succumbing to death, he said, Jesus, have mercy on me. And he says, I have forgiven you. And they will be there. So as we go through life, put their room. Then verse 17 also has another overlay, which is also another thing. It says that do not be overly wicked again, nor be foolish. Why should you die before your time? This one means this is not an endorsement of moderate sin, that you can do some little sin. Solomon is stating that uncontrolled evil and foolishness also bring unavoidable premature consequences. If you ignore God's wisdom, you will suffer the natural result of sin, such as violence, addiction, or even breaking God's law, which can shorten your life. Why die before your time? The fool brings premature death upon themselves through recklessness. Now, he is also telling us again not to be reckless. We must balance. In fact, verses 18 puts it clear that it is good that you grasp this and also not remove your hands from the other. Are you following? You are on righteousness, but you are not overly this way, not overly this way. Okay? It says, for a wise person takes hold of both warnings, avoiding legalism, pride on one side, and chaotic wickedness on the other. He who fears God, the key to the balance is the fear of the Lord, reverence and respect for God. Those who truly fear God will avoid both types of extremes and will be guided safely through life's paradox. And verse 19 says that practically of wisdom strengthens the wise more than 10 rulers of the city. Be wise. Now, for example, in our church manual, we have 4 constituent levels. There is the general conference. Then we have, can you help me? From the general conference, what is the other level that comes down? It's not division. It is even local union. Then from the local union, the local conference. Then from there, we have the church board. It is in our books. Now, where do other things come in? Like the division. When you say, even our book says, but the division is there. The GC, seeing that they cannot run every territory, they put a division, but it is an arm of the conference, of the general conference. Now, when you say no, for me I just go straight to GC. Yes, you read it from our books, but you might be over there, right here, and you miss the mark. There is another level called the district. Do you hear it from the other four? It's not there. A certain pastor, when he went to a certain place, he was questioned and queried, Pastor, you have come, but from which envelope have you come? What is that thing called district? But the truth was, they were using the books of the church money. Fortunately, the pastor was maybe humble enough. He said, okay, find out from our books maybe. But it was as if he was coming in a wrong place. What we know, there is GC, there is union, there is conference, there is church board. Where are you now? But as a church, again, because sometimes maybe of pride or whatever, and when they made a search into the books, they found out that surely in some places where they feel they need that level of a district, the local conference can put those structures for the proper management. But in other places, from the local church like a KCC, straight to the conference, there is nothing in between. But in some places, the district is there. Now today we are gathered here as something called a zone. Is it anywhere, even in the church manual, whatever? But the structure of the church in that local place thinks that if we put such a level, that from the church board, we have the district and even the district council, then we can also have a zone. Then from there, you can go to the conference. Now, when you are over it, maybe right here, and say, no, these things are just manipulative or whatever. You have the room to do that. But here, verse 19 has said, wisdom strengthens the wise. True godly wisdom is more protective and powerful than any human alliance for army or political power. Relying on God's wisdom provides greater security than relying on people, even money. So as we go through life, even in your family or in your business, have that simple life of humility to accommodate some things, putting there room that God knows better than I do know. And verse 20, the last one says, for there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and does not sin. So as you judge others, remember that maybe even the glasses you are putting on might be tinted. So it doesn't mean that we should be careless about others, but let us be considerate of others. In verse 16 to 17, generally, since no one is perfect and everyone sins, trying to be overly righteous is a lie, because we are all in need of mercy. It shatters the pride of the over-righteous by reminding them that they are not perfect either. So may God help us that we should fear the Lord. Summary says that have a balanced life. The passage advises moderation and humility rather than attempting to control life through extremes. It advocates for living wisely while recognizing that human perfection is impossible, pointing to a life guided by the fear of God. Would you like, gentlemen and ladies, we need to avoid legalism and even to avoid rebellion and to walk in wisdom and recognize your need for grace. May the Lord bless us as we go through life. Putting there some room. Yes, you have known. Yes, you have seen. But maybe. But even when you are really concretely sure that what I have seen is what I have seen, then let there be grace so that life can continue. The Bible says that the way Christ had grace on you is the way we will need to have grace on one another. May the Lord impress this on our minds and help us to reach and finish our journeys according to the will of God. As much as you might have seen, I would like to conclude. There was a certain friend of mine. I don't know where he got this, I call it ink. And he was saying, do you know, the bishop is going to the sea. This one is doing this. And I said, where do you get all these things? As much as we are evil, but when you take everyone to be evil, those elders are doing this, those women are doing, you are the only holy person, eventually, even the devil will take you up. So, by faith, consider and love everyone and have hope that through Jesus we shall all be overcomers. May the Lord bless us in Jesus' name. Can we stand up and we have our prayer together? Loving Father, King of glory, we are here briefly for Lord, we invite your presence through the power of the Holy Spirit, that the few minutes we shall be here, Lord, you may speak to us and allow us to go as the church has organized for the development and the growth of our churches and our territories. Lord, we commit every minute, every word, and every action that will be done in this gathering, that, Lord, at the end we shall hear your voice, and may you allow us to follow you, and may your name be glorified. For this is a humble prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. The Lord bless us.
Pastor, we want to thank you very much for that wonderful devotion. We pray that we will be hearers and doers of what we have heard. At this time, beloved, I want to welcome Nalongo Estan Subuga. We are good to see you now. And we want to thank God for bringing you safe. I want to say that this is your time, Mama. You are very welcome.
A very good morning to each one of you. Happy to see you. Thank you for sparing time again for God's business. May you be blessed. I appreciate Pastor for taking us through the devotion. And thank you, our zone leader, for being with us. I was given an assignment to take us through a topic which is called integrity and accountability in leadership. Integrity and accountability in leadership. Shall we pray? Merciful, kind, and loving Father in heaven, we want to thank you again for you have given us an opportunity to sit at your feet as your children and as leaders in your church. Again, we plead for your Holy Spirit to be with us as we learn, for we have prayed, trusting and believing in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ and Savior. Amen. Integrity and accountability in leadership. Since our time is fast spent, I will be brief, and yet I would also love to call for your participation wherever possible. All right, how would you define integrity? How would you define integrity? In simple terms, you don't have to be very technical, you don't have to be very professional. In simple terms, how do you understand it? Yes, please. Being honest and straightforward. Thank you. Integrity, honest and straightforward. Yes. Being consistent, keeping your word. Thank you. There are many other definitions. For instance, one says that integrity in leadership means a leader's words, values, and actions align with God's standards. Your words, your values, your actions align with God's standards. You're honest, you're straight, you keep your word. But whatever you do, you align it with God's standards. Another one would simply say, doing the right thing all the time. You're doing the right thing all the time. But again, there is that aspect of keeping God's standards, integrity. What about accountability? Accountability. What does it mean to be accountable? Are you thinking along with me? Yes, please. Being faithful to that which you have been given to. For instance, you're given a sum of money to spend, and then you spend it the way it's supposed to be spent, and then you report. And every coin is in its place. You are accountable. Thank you very much. When it comes to leadership, it can be defined as a situation in which someone is responsible for things that happen and can give a satisfactory reason for them. You are responsible for what happens. Or accountability is an obligation to explain. You explain, you justify, and you take responsibility for one's actions. You can be able to explain, to justify, and take responsibility. It's not about the blame game. If it weren't for so and so, imagine me, I had thought of this, but it's because, you take responsibility as a leader for whatever happens. And then leadership. First of all, who is a leader before we go to leadership? Who is a leader? How would you define a leader? We are all leaders here. So what do we do that makes us leaders? Who is a leader? Yes, please. The one who is on the forefront. Thank you. A leader. Yes, please. A person who takes others to the next level. Meaning there is someone at the forefront and they are followers. And this person is taking them somewhere, but to the next level. Thank you. A leader, an individual who influences, he inspires, and guides people. So as a leader, you're supposed to influence, you're supposed to inspire, you're supposed to guide people. or teams or organizations towards a shared goal or vision. So there's no way you can pose to be a leader without followers. And for you to be a good leader, you should be able to influence and inspire and guide. Because the people you're leading, some of them they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do. And then some of them could also have the ability to do so many things, but because they are not inspired, they are not motivated. So it is you as a leader to inspire, to guide, to motivate. And then leadership. It is the art of motivating a group to act towards achieving a common goal. Leadership is an art of motivating a group to act toward achieving a common goal, often defined by influencing, inspiring, and enabling others. Okay? Why do you think it was defined as an art and not a science? Yes, please. Not everyone? Not everyone can be a leader. It is a gift. Okay, thank you. Not everyone can be a leader. It is a gift, yes. Okay, the leader will have the vision. Thank you. It is action. Okay, you need to act. That's why it's called an art. One more. Why is it an art and not a science? Thank you for all your answers. It's saying it because it needs creativity. Not everything is written on stone, that particular formula that takes you somewhere. What works here might not work there. So as you see, artists, they are creative. They take time. They change colors. They change, as time goes by. So likewise, if you are to be successful in your leadership, always remember it is an art. The way you handle X is not the way you're going to handle Y. And you take time to understand them, and you can bring the best out of them because you're being creative. You understand so and so is very principled. They keep their word. You can work with them that way. The other one is very slippery. Much as they can be active, you work with them. The other one needs to be praised all the time and appreciated and shown that they can do it. You do it. It is an art. So you master the art and you're able to bring out the best in the people you're leading. The biblical foundation, there are a number of scriptures here. You can note, I'll only read one, Proverbs 11:3, you read it. And then Psalm 78:72. Okay? Then Proverbs 10:9 says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely. When you walk in integrity, you walk securely. But whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. When you walk with honesty, when you are upright, when you are just, when you follow God's standards, you are secure. Much as the ground can be shaky sometimes, you know what happens when you want to do things straight and right? The ground can be shaky, but at least as long as you're in God's standards, you are secure. Because that is the safest place to be anyway. So, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out sooner or later, as long as the path is crooked. It might be crooked for some time, and people might be wondering, really, doesn't God see? We are seeing so many faults and loopholes in X. Sooner or later, you will be found out. But when you choose to walk with integrity, you are secure. Characteristics of integrity in leadership. Characteristics of integrity. Having defined it, I'll be fast. You're honest or trustworthy. You're honest or trustworthy. You speak the truth at all times. Sometimes the truth hurts, yes or no. But you are known for speaking the truth at all times. And then consistency. You behave the same way in private and in public. We are always told that which you do behind closed doors, when nobody is seeing you, that is the real you. So if you can happen to do it in private and also keep the same standard for the public, then you are consistent. May I also add, I don't know if I'm right, you end up being somebody who is predictable. Yes or no? They know Elder so-and-so will not allow that. Mrs. X is not for that. So it saves you from a lot of trouble. Because people will come to you after thinking through what they are bringing to your desk, after being very critical, and because they know you are very predictable. It might not seem like a strength because some of us don't want to be predictable, yes or no? You feel like you're having some, strength or ability, you want to prove, but to be safe, they better know that if you're going to so-and-so's desk, things have to be straight. Otherwise, it will not come through. So that is being consistent. And then faithfulness to God's standards. God has standards. The others, you can take time and read about them. God has standards, and you ensure that whatever God says, that is exactly what you do. So you end up being predictable. You end up being secure because you're safe in God's hands. Can we have an example of people who practice integrity in their lives in the Bible? You just mentioned the name and those particular moments when integrity was seen in what they did or what they said or how they behaved. Integrity, biblical examples. Yes, please. Joseph. That one. I usually ask young men, I'm afraid of asking older men, how many would pass that test? How many? I happened to talk to young people. It was sometime last year. It was quite a number. There were more than 30. And I asked, how many of you would pass the test? Honestly, it was just but a few hands. To young people, it would be an opportunity. Yes or no? She has presented herself to me. It is not me who asked for it. I don't want to ask the older men present, but surely, how many would stand and say no? Another example is Daniel in the Bible. Daniel, his unwavering commitment to God's laws. Daniel was extremely a man with high integrity. Reading about Daniel, you feel like, I wish I would also stand like him, yes or no? But was it easy? In a foreign land with a lot of pressure, and then you'd also have excuses. After all, I'm away from home. After all this, after all that, yes or no? Sometimes we do certain things because we're in a community that doesn't know we're Adventists. True or false? You take advantage of that, and it goes, and you come back and play safe when you come to church. Daniel was very predictable. He said no, right from the word go, from the diet. Wasn't it the first test, as far as I remember? And it is said that once you are taken, or once you are won at the first time, it will be difficult for you to stand at the second attempt. So he stood straight right from the word go. He said no. He kept praying to his God even when he knew he was being sought for, yes or no. The friends, by the time they thought about Daniel and his God, they had checked through all his ways, and they could not find fault. What about us today? If our followers checked us, at which point would we be found guilty? As leaders, are there spots you look at your life and you're like, surely? Luckily, some of those things that our followers don't know, yes or no? It is between us and our God, between us and our families, between us and our children. But They searched Daniel left, right, and center. They could not find even one fault. If they were to check Daniel in terms of presence at work, he was there. If it were to be in terms of time management, he was there. If it were to be in terms of accountability for money spent, he was there. They found no fault. Was Daniel a man like we, subject to like passions like we? But he stood. Do you know what it means when your enemy searches you and they find no fault? It is very admirable, but it takes an effort to get to that level. I admire Daniel. So he's another example of someone who had integrity. What is the importance of integrity in leadership? What is the importance? When I was reading about this, I found something very important and strong. It was written, integrity is not just a desirable quality, it is a fundamental pillar that upholds the community's trust and respect. It is not just a desirable quality. Somewhere else it was written that integrity is the cornerstone, meaning that each one of us has, as leaders, we have to have integrity. Not just a desirable quality, but a fundamental pillar that will earn you trust and respect as a leader. Then another one says, integrity is the most essential character trait a leader must possess in any leadership role, be it in church, be it at school, be it at home. Do our husbands require us to be women of integrity? Do the wives require the husbands to be men of integrity? What about the children and their parents? They do expect that. And when we fall short, we hurt them. Only because of their age, they are limited. They cannot do certain things, but sometimes they keep warning or waiting for that moment when they can do something. You hear a child say, "Mommy," for us, we know you're innocent. We know Dad is the one who is wrong, but it's because we are young. So they are waiting for that moment when they'll cease to be young and they'll move into action. And it will be Daddy to feel it. It's very hurting. But because we are young, but they are seeing. I was also touched by another statement when one of the pastors mentioned that the children said, "But you pastors, I wish you would consult we, the children, before you make our fathers elders." Does that mean if the children were to brought into that to be in that business, some people would not get the chance of being elders? So integrity at every point. Because when you get a stain at work, one day, one time, that particular colleague you'll meet somewhere in the spiritual realms and you'll have no more authority. If you have stains at home, you'll stand and speak. And then people will be like, I wish he knew, I wish they knew. The husband is speaking so powerfully. He's even sweating. But the wife is like, I wish they knew. Importance of integrity at every point, even in community. Some of us are failing to do total member involvement in our communities because of our character. One boldly asks when you're promoting TMI, "Can I move from my neighborhood and go and preach in another community?" Meaning in her own community, they would not take the word because she lacks integrity. Importance. You build trust. And then you get God's favor. You inspire followers to live righteously. You build unity. You leave a legacy. Even when you're gone, people will always remember. And it also earns you respect. I'm trying to manage my time. How do you assess leadership in integrity? How do you assess leadership integrity? How do you assess? Some tips. You can ask yourself, am I a leader with integrity? One, Are my actions consistent with my beliefs? You check yourself at a personal level. You know the beliefs. You know, let's say, okay, talk about the fundamental beliefs of the church. You know what the Bible talks about marriage. You know what the Bible talks about Christian behavior. You know. And you ask yourself, are my actions consistent with my beliefs? And then, do I tell the truth even when it is uncomfortable to do so? Do I tell the truth? There are moments when you're very uncomfortable to be asked about someone. When we are teaching at university, you tell the students, please behave well. At least let me have something good to talk about you. Later on, they come to you and you're my referee, madam, but you scratch and you're like, what can I talk about this person? Sincerely, you know. But they want this scholarship, they want that job, but to be sincere. At the time, you tell this person, you know what? Just write for me what I can talk about you. Because you're searching and you're failing to find, and you don't want to lie. So the question is, do I tell the truth even when it is uncomfortable? When you're not comfortable to do it, and you don't want this person to take you like it is because you that I missed the opportunity, then tell them, I think you can find someone else. Oh, I'm a little busy here. Because you know. When you append your signature to that form, and then, do I care about doing the right thing? Do I really care? Does it matter to me what I do and what I say? Do I really care about doing the right thing? And then, do I always follow through on my commitments and promises? Sometimes we make a lot of commitments. We make a lot of promises to the people we lead, to our family members, because we are leaders, even at our places of work. You commit yourself. I will do this. I will not do that. Sometimes we promise our children and they keep reminding you, but mommy, you said, but daddy, you promised. And you keep postponing and it becomes a date. And eventually when they get it, they feel it's an achievement. Oh, honestly, I have chased after this thing, but I finally got it. Why should they chase after you when you're the one who promised? So you commit, you follow through your commitments and promises. Have I behaved in a way that is consistent with my company's core values? In this sense, have I behaved in a way that is consistent with the church's core values? Accountability in leadership. We defined accountability. And we are just re-echoing that it means being responsible for your decisions, for your actions, and you're willing to answer to God and to others. To others, it can be easy, yes or no. You can find a way of, but to God, by the time you're called to answer to God, it means things have already lost track. Because if it is well, will you be called to answer? Biblical foundation, Romans 14:12. And it says, so then, each of us will give an account of ourselves to God individually. And in this, I marvel and I'm like, God was really right. Account for yourself. It would be difficult to account for another person. Do you also find it sometimes difficult to account for that which you said and that which you did? How more difficult would it be for you to account for your husband's actions or for your wife's actions or for your children's actions? That is why it is saying that each one will give an account of ourselves to God. You can also read Hebrews 13:17 and then Luke 16:10. Please find time and read them. And then characteristics of accountability in leadership. Characteristics of accountability in leadership. One of them is responsibility for actions. Take ownership for the results. You avoid the blame game. And then when things go wrong, you focus on fixing the problem and not the fault. And then transparency. another characteristic of accountability in leadership. And then also willingness to accept correction. Willingness to accept correction. It doesn't mean that when you're chosen as the leader, you're perfect and you're way above the people you're leading. There are times when you can go wrong. There are times when you might not speak right. There are things that are unacceptable that you might do at certain times. So be willing to be to be corrected. And then being answerable to God and to people. And then seeking feedback to intentionally build your inner circle. There is a loneliness that sometimes leadership brings. When you become a leader, sometimes you end up having a very small circle. Yes or no? People tend to distance themselves. They tend to change their conversations when you come. They tend to, there's a loneliness that you tend to, you're like on an island and yet you're supposed to work with them and through them to get things done. So one of the things that can help you is to seek feedback. Sometimes you use a lot of authority as leaders. You command. Sometimes even you bang desks. You want to use every bit of authority. Sometimes you want to show them, I am the one here now. You either do it or, even in church. So when you have somebody who will keep giving you honest feedback, you're on a safe side. Our leader, much as things are like this, but when you spoke like this, you stepped on some people's toes. You're like, oh, is that what I did? I am sorry. You might apologize openly, to that person, or you can just simply change. Or you can try to bring that person close to communicate that you are sorry. Do leaders apologize? Must they apologize? Yes. And when you do that, you're training your followers to be humble enough to accept that they did wrong. So one of the ways that you can try to narrow that gap between you and the followers, accept feedback. And then stay anchored to the why. Stay focused to the mission. Stay focused as a leader. Because at the end of it all, the questions will be in relation to what you are tasked to do. May I have somebody recite the church's mission offhand? Reciting the church mission, SDA church mission. Pardon me? The clerk. Okay. Apart from the clerk. Given that we are here as leaders, apart from the clerk, I'll come to the clerk last when things have failed. SDA church mission statement. What does it say? Apart from the clerk, apart from the basumba. Pardon me? We start with the basumba. As you rehearse, But Mr. Google is always there for us. What has happened today? Okay, I task you to kindly memorize the mission statement. So if we want to be accountable, we have to be focused to the why. Okay? Can we have a biblical example of accountability? Biblical example? Biblical character? David? What did he do exactly? When you get home, read about Stephen. Act 6. He was stoned and he remained focused. Eliezer, another one, at which point? Abraham's servant. When he went to... Okay, yes, please. Moses. 40 years. Some of us get one term, one chisanja, and you're like, to hell. Moses had it for how many years? Very trying moment. Finally, apostles. They always accounted to Jesus for everything. Finally, David. When he was confronted by Prophet Nathan about his sin, what did he do? Can you imagine a king? Who would dare approach a king and tell the king about the fault? And he was humble enough. He regretted. And that is why we have Psalm 51 in the Bible. He was truly sorry for what he did. A very strong point in leadership. We too have to be accountable. Importance of accountability in leadership. It prevents abuse of power because you know you have to be answerable. So there is no way you can just do things the way you want because you have to give a report, you have to give an explanation, you have to justify. Why did you spend the money the way you did? You have to explain. And whenever you have that at the back of your mind, it keeps you from abusing power. Then it promotes humility. Now this one is easier said than done, more desirable than practiced. But it's a very strong characteristic of a leader. And then it encourages responsible leadership. And finally, it builds trust within the community. As we conclude, both integrity and accountability are essential qualities of godly leadership. Always remember, and integrity ensures that you live righteously as a leader. Accountability ensures a leader remains responsible and humble. I'll leave you with a text, 1 Timothy 3, verse 1, which says, "Now the overseer is to be above reproach, faithful to his wife, temperate, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach." And it goes on and on. May God bless you in your leadership roles. It will call for you to leave your comfort zone. It will call for you to change the way you spend your time. It will call for you to change the way you spend, to change the way you dress, to change the way you talk. It will call you out. If you're to really lead God's way, things are not going to be the same in your life. But thanks be to God, you're going to be growing spiritually, you're going to be mentoring others, and you're going to be moving closer and closer to God. And the blessings will be yours to enjoy for you and your family and for those around you. I wish you a fruitful term of leadership. Thank you.
We want to thank you, Nalongo, for that wonderful presentation. And we pray that God will bless us as we lead God's people. I want and if yellow fails, you understand. But we want to thank you very much. I want to invite Pastor Theodore to just help us, because I realize we have sat for, I don't know, 2 hours now. We just give us that some good exercise, and then we will have Pastor Emmanuel Sali to lead us in that next presentation. Thank you very much.
think and thought that we needed to have the district. At the same time, we need to have the zone in order to put the services down and to enhance development and growth. What is a station or a zone? In the context of a Central Uganda Conference, a station or a zone is an administrative level in the Adventist church structure. It is an administrative level which is acceptable in our church. It bridges the gap between the conference and the district, and it enhances effective administration and even service delivery. So we must allow our minds to take on this, because according to our local conference, this is an acceptable and a design that it has put forward. Still, as usual, the mission statement of the station is like the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Central Uganda Conference. And it is the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Central Uganda Conference of the Uganda Union Mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ who live as his loving witnesses and proclaim to all people the everlasting gospel of the three angels' message in preparation for his soon return. Nga sinaba kugenda wala, munzikirize to explain this. All the things we talk about, church board, district, things to do with the zone, now conference and whatever, the main goal is to see that we make people as disciples of Jesus Christ. Those who have been made disciples, if you are to construct a church like KMZ is constructing, and even Mount Olives, East Kampala is soon finishing, and others, is to house the souls that have been made into disciples, where they can meet, to have a fellowship, to have more warmth amongst themselves, and later on, we continue with the main business of turning people into disciples. So the reason behind the main one is turning people into disciples. What is the validation of the station or the zone level? A station acts, or a zone acts, as an arm of the Central Uganda Conference. As the division is an arm of the GC, so even a station is an administrative level, an arm of the conference. And it helps the conference leadership implement plans and even policies. It provides closer supervision of church activities, and even it has the following roles: to monitor and supervise church programs and projects. Since the conference is far away the other way, the zone at least tries to go an extra mile. How is KMZ constructing? How is when are they starting to construct at Mount Olives? They are concerned, and they make reports which they submit to the conference. It encourages members to share their faith, as I've told you, to improve church financial plans at the level of a zone, to support outreach and spiritual growth ministries. Ministries of Healing says that we must use Christ's method of preaching by mingling with people, and each bring the other. So as I have already said, this administrative level is not just bureaucracy, but to see that as we, the Kampala Metropolitan Zone, how can we enhance ministry amongst the elite people? We are responsible as Kampala Metropolitan Zone to see that the parliament, all government ministries in Entebbe and elsewhere, the elite group, that there is an outreach and a way of reaching out to those people. Growth and development. Once this is mature enough, and it is evident that it can fully execute programs and demonstrate leadership capacity, and if it can finance its projects and missionary work, it can be elevated to a status of a mission field. Nenjagala kano mukawulirize. We have some districts that are making up to a zone. Tujja kukiraba mu kasira idi akamu. Nenjagala kyo mukitegeere. When the zone performs very well, then it is promoted to become a station. A zone does not have a specific person. One of the pastors in one of the districts is chosen to be the zone leader. But when it is elevated to become a station, then a special person is appointed by the conference, who is not a district leader, but to manage what is called a station. When a station works very well, and there is cohesion, there is unity, there is a focus onto whatever they are doing, then it is usually elevated to become a field. I think some of you have been following what has been taking place. NBF, North Buganda Field, was North Buganda Station. Mityana, which is West Buganda Field today, was West Buganda Station. When they performed well, they were elevated to that. Now, let me go back to the devotion which we had. In the far past, if any church would even say we want to become a church body, they would say, why? But today, the church has seen that when this congregation says, we are mature enough to run our businesses as a church board, when they are granted that status, more growth comes, because it is now ours. It is our church board. We are making our decisions. So today the church is so loose with letting, not so loose, but it easily give out leadership, because they have seen. Now, when you add the total income of West Buganda Field, North Buganda Field, now East Buganda Field, with the CUC, we are almost even doubling our submission to the Lord. Even in membership, I don't know what happens when people feel, conference is there at Chireka. But when it is ours, there is a way people team up and they work so fast, they work so closely. When you add the membership of these fields today, which was Central Uganda Conference alone, it is almost more than double in offering and even in membership. So they have believed in putting down the leadership so that we can work and we grow, because Jesus would like to come. A station versus a zone both support conference plans and the policies. Zone is supervised by a district pastor, like a KMZ is going to be supervised by a district pastor. Zone can grow into a station, I've already said that. Stations can be elevated to mission field status. The difference between a station and a zone is managed and supervised by a district pastor who is based at the zone headquarters. The second one is that the zone cannot be elevated to a mission field, but to a station. The station has an independent leader who is not a district leader in that territory. Administrative structure of a zone or even a station. A station is managed by a station management committee, chaired by a station director and is supervised by the conference leadership. The leadership structure is given there as, please go ahead. Press on. We want the organogram. Do it quickly. On top of everything, we have a CUC executive committee called the EXCOM. And below it, we have CUC officers and even the ADICOM. Those are the departmentals. Then down we have, the ADICOM is a combination of CUC officers and even departmentals. But below the CUC officers, we have CUC departmentals. Now you may think it is a lot of bureaucracy, but by God's grace, this is what and how it is done. In our meetings, the officers are given room to sit as officers to plan and to think for the conference. As the church elders in our church boards, they sit independently of the church board to think about the businesses of their church. But as much as they've come out with those ideas, they have to sit with all these other departmentals. And it is put before them. We think our church should be built in such. These members are given an opportunity to give ideas onto what the elders have taught. And it can be changed, but in love and amicably. And then whatever comes out of now the two combination, we get what we call a minute of the entire church. But remember, the church board is again acting on behalf of what we call the entire church, which is called, it is acting on the entire church. So even here, the officers act like the elders after they sit. Then the other members, the departmentals, then they come out with whatever. So below that, we have the station or the zone chairperson. And then we have the station management committee, who you are. Under that committee, we have the pastors and associates, and even the administrative secretary. Still under the administrative structure, it is to develop and to strengthen stations and zones, thereby bridging the gap between the conference and the district levels for effective administrative services delivery. The following should be implemented. 1, reporting policy. All reports shall be submitted through the station or the zone administrative unit to the relevant conference offices and departments. Meaning, if there is the education director at the zone level, he must collect whatever information is needed in that zone, and then he makes a good report, then he submits to the conference. Even the finances are going to be reported that way. Reports such as trust funds, baptisms, departmental reports are going to be collected through your relevant and different departments, so that at the end they can be forwarded to the conference, and then the conference can make the final conference report. Finance reports will be collected from the zone headquarters by auditors and accountants on every reporting day. Funding and development. Stations and zones shall be authorized to collect dedicated station and zone funds. These funds will support development activities aimed at advancing the station level and finally the field status. Eligible projects may include land acquisition, church construction or other constructions, and income generating activities, all to be carried out under the guidance of the conference. I remember when I was still here in Kampala A, and even in this zone, I had good deliberations. There was the development department. And there was this good idea, which was not even at the conference level, that in the development, as much as we are into the development to construct churches, but this individual church member has to be educated on how to earn more. I remember you were even heading such a thing. You called it even entrepreneurship. And it was excellent. It was supposed to continue that we empower this church member to become a good earner. So when this church member has been given that empowerment, then you can talk about stewardship. That since God has blessed you, now be faithful to the Father, to your Father, who has been faithful by giving you better or wider earning. So it is important that those things can take place. It says that all to be carried out under the guidance of the conference. So in consultation with the conference, whatever you plan this way, you will liaise with the conference so that we are on the same page. Governance for potential field or even for station status. Where an entity, a station, proposed for field status comprises a zone, the governance structure shall be as follows. The zone chairperson and the zone management committee shall operate under the supervision of the station. But here we are not under a station. But like in Masaka, they have what we call a station, which is Masaka station, and they also have South Buganda zone. So the zone management committee works under the station management committee and business moves on. In this case, all reporting to the conference shall be done through the station leadership. That is like in Masaka. But committee composition, a joint management committee shall be established to oversee all mission activities within the territory. This committee shall ensure coordinated development and shall include persons and offices from both the station and even the zone. But for us, we are a zone. Chairpersons, secretaries, treasurers, CUS representatives on the EXCOM, ordained pastors representatives, one licensed workers representative, lay volunteer evangelists. Those are but a few of what we have. The executive committee who are here, composition, there shall be an executive committee on each zone comprising the following: the chairman, the vice chairman, secretary and assistant secretary, treasurer, ordained pastors representative, CUC representative, and the administrative secretary. Objectives of the management committee, to implement conference plans and policies. Number 2, to promote evangelism and church growth, as if we are repeating the same thing. To mobilize resources effectively and to prepare zones for station status and stations for field status. Kiringange kitakirizika. But soon and very soon, Kampala Metropolitan Zone can become a station, and it can even become at first a field. Very soon, it can become Kampala Metropolitan Conference. I have told you in the far past, the church was so stingy with its leadership. But they've seen the more they give out leadership, the more people keep growing. You look at such small churches like Zion or whatever. Zion was part of KCC when it went. Now it is a church board. Whatever is there, they are growing there. But even you remember the history of the Kampala Metropolitan. All members English speaking were here at KCC. When some went to Bunga, it is now another big thing. And they are growing, they are producing branches. That went there. Then olives went. It is also growing, different branches are developing from there. Instead of, don't you go, just stay here. By dispersing, there is a way how God has made the church to multiply. So it is the reason why we are in here. So I was talking about the objectives is that we prepare a zone for station status and stations for field. Tenure of meetings. Committee serves for 3 years. Although this very point is yet to be debated because a quinquennium is usually 5 years. Now, if you make 3 years, then the quinquennium ends when these ones might be having 1 more year to go. We are still debating about that. If it can be 2.5 years, then 2.5. At the end of the quinquennium, although the reason why it is still 3 is to maintain a continuity, that even if the leadership at the conference has been changed, these people still have at least a year to continue with whatever they were. And then after a year, they come in. But it is still under discussion. Management committee meets at least once every quarter. That is at the zone level. Station business meeting. The station business meeting or zone is treated as the highest meeting of the station or zone, which shall sit after every 3 years to receive development reports and elect new management for the station or for the zone. The station management committee votes to hold a station or business meeting, and it requires all church bodies to send a stated number of representatives from each organized church to a selected venue. The churches that form the constituency of the station or zone appoint delegates who are duly authorized to represent them at the constituency meeting. You remember we have just had that for our zone. The constituency, when it shall sit under the authorization of the conference executive committee, elects leaders of the station or even the zone. Those present form the business meeting which transacts business on behalf of the station or even of the zone. From these delegates, a nominating committee is chosen, as we have just gone through that recently, and to nominate leaders of the station or the zone management committee who will serve for the next 3 years period. During that meeting, the elected leaders are commissioned and dedicated for service. Terms of reference of the management committee: plan territorial activities aligned with the conference plans, to review performance reports, and to explain conference policies to the members, and to ensure district development aligns with the strategic plans. Wano munzikiriza okolayo ka disclaimer katonotono. Unfortunately, as far as planning is concerned, so far, we are trying to pull this thing a little bit. Like in your elite churches, you would have wished to have the plans for the following year around October, November. In most of our churches, usually plan before the year end. So by December, we used to have the old servants in our churches ending, and there are new ones. So that by January, already even the worker plans, which were done the previous year. But usually, it has still been like that the division gives us some of the things, sometimes even in March. We would like to apologize for that, but we want to thank you for being that accommodative, that even after they come around February, March, there is a way how you still incorporate all those programs into your church programs. Since some of our people have gone there, like Dr. Maka, they might lead to the division to think of what will be done next year and to be produced in the last quarter of the previous year. But at least so far, that's how things are done. Functions of the management committee, the managerial and administrative function of the station or zone leader will include to prepare the territory to become a viable entity in all its resource areas. The women, the children ministries, every area that will really become grown to the level that we can become an entity. Number 2, to approve and implement the strategic plans of the station or zone, which is aligned into the conference plans. Number 3, to evaluate and recommend churches for organization and even dedication. Team ya mweno wants the team this way can look at a church and it can recommend that this church, this congregation has grown to such a level that they can be organized into a church board. And even the churches which need to be dedicated, that we benchmark with the conference so that we can do what is right. Number 4 is to implement and coordinate projects that enhance the development of the station or the zone, which is out into creation of new entities. Like a KMZ can grow strong and very strong to the level of saying we can have 2 zones. Why do we need 2 zones from KMZ? When we become 2 or 3 zones, then it is much more, again, easier to make the KMZ with the other zones to become a field. Which field can become a conference? To cause recruitment and training lay preachers and even leaders. Number 6, regular monitoring, evaluating and submitting reports on the performance of the session or the zone to the CUC office to ensure and promote effective teamwork and total member involvement in all church businesses. It is very important that we look at those ones. Some of the things which are here, ethics for management committee, I want to thank Madam Nalongo, who has already taught about the issue of integrity. But we need to have confidentiality, then to be objective, then respect to fellow committee members, to have that aspect of teamwork, avoiding selfish motives and even practices. We believe that as a KMZ, I remember it once was an objective, but since we are in and out, but now it is affirmed. If all of us teamed up with the spirit of humility and teamwork, and we said this quarter, we want to push KCC with its development plan. And we come and we collect here something to do with maybe 500 million. That church which they are constructing can become habitable. They are tired of praying from here. They want to go home. because this is not theirs. Then in the second quarter, we say, let us team up, and we go to Mount Olives. Abantu abo lwakubanga basaba, but their hearts must be sick. A church or a project like that is like a child from your womb. Now they are seeing their child from their womb maybe in a coma for now over 3 or so years. It is by God's grace that some of those members are still praying. But they would maybe even have stopped because their child is in a coma, the church building. Netugamba now this second quarter, let us go. Netuyiwawo obukadde 6 or even 1 billion. We can do it. And we push them very soon. I have heard some good news that they've been locally fundraising amongst themselves. And almost the resources for what they call the first phase. But I don't know what the first phase means. Maybe to construct the basement where the children were supposed to pray from and whatever. They have at least collected that money, and they have embarked on collecting the monies for the second phase. But I think maybe the second phase is up to the roofing level, then the roofing. But I remember the other church that fell, only the roof. It took more than 350 Uganda shillings, millions. Kakati, in this unity, we can finish our churches. East Kampala is almost ending. But I think they also would have loved very soon to have theirs. And we say third quarter, let us push East Kampala. And it is finished. There are other small congregations which you have, you people, the Emmaus, the whatever. So we believe that if we have teamwork, a lot will be achieved. Remember, when we shall make it to heaven, God is not going to specifically ask you about Casey Salon, about Mount Olive Salon or whatever. He is interested in the general church development. And so when you have seen that we have developed one another, I believe. There are some other smaller projects which I believe you people you will think about. You know that our Mosida here, Makerere, they have kept on offering us places and then withdrawing because we are not serious. Offering up and withdrawing. What if we say that once, whatever, if they cannot give us, let us buy. So that our learners, because until Jesus comes back, there will be Adventist learners there and they are supposed to do ministry. If we could push 500 millions there, it could do something. But even the conference is so much willing now to work with all of you. Number 6 as ethics is regular attendance to meetings, punctuality, collective responsibility, accountability, and even integrity and timely reports. Those are some of the ethical values that we expect and we think. Station and zone working committee terms of reference, station directors and zone chairman job descriptions, they are put there to liaise with the conference president in coordinating the station duties, to implement conference plans and even policies, to receive activities and evaluate and assess regular reports from the pastors, to ascertain the progress of the station or even the zone, and to submit them closely with the pastors and station committee to define responsibilities for attaining conference objectives, and to chair the station or zone management committee. And he is an ex-official member to all church boards and even district councils. It leads out in the transformation of the station or zone to becoming the following status by emphasizing soul winning and infrastructure development and effective utilization of financial and non-financial resources in the zone. He is a member of the Conference Executive Committee, and he coordinates functions and operations between the zone, church districts, and congregation and institution within the territory. And he represents the church during public functions in consultation with the conference officers. And he fosters evangelism and nurture retention, reclamation, and ensure the teaching of Adventist church beliefs in the entire zone according to that volume. Ensure that each district has at least 3 marriage centers, or at least 1, for the celebration of marriages to strengthen leadership for God's work, to cause the training and equipping of local church leadership in church ministry management and church affairs. Lastly, but not least, to promote and ensure the usage of the Adventist church management system and the church financial management system for the smooth running of the church in that zone. The membership and the financial records are determinant yardstick for the acquisition of higher status levels. Members, that is what I could offer, which the conference is mandating you to do. I just want to conclude by saying, let us embrace these new structures, including the district level and even the zone level. In KMZ, we were a little bit skeptical on making a budget from our local church budgets to support the district. But think about it and buy into it so that we can have some percentage of our LCB forwarded to the district so that the district can run its businesses, and even part of the district fund again to be forwarded to the zone for proper management. Later on, we shall prove that this was for the good of the mission of the church and even for our good. May the Lord bless you in Jesus' name.
We want to thank you, Pastor. I don't know, I think Pastor Mozida, you are better at thanking people better. Can you lead us into one clap? No, I think Lucky, MG, Lucky. Those things you are better at.
Hello, everyone. Are we seated free? Let's sing a simple chorus that will check us. A simple chorus. So we have all known the chorus that says, "I will make you fishers of men," right? So where you hear F, when you hear F, the females stand. When you hear M, the males stand. So let's try. I will make you fishers of men, fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. Yeah, we can do now. Okay. Let us now start. Okay. We are going to sing a little higher. I will make you fishers of men, fishers of men, fishers of men. I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. If you follow me. If you follow me, I will make you fishers of men if you follow me. May the Lord bless you. Okay. In school, we normally give factorials. So factorials, we can start from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We clap in such a way. So let us first try with 3 factorials. Then I'll tell you how many factorials we are going to give Pastor. Let's first try with 3 factorials. So let's warm our hands. We go. So I wanted us to first do practice before we... So factorials, if we say 3 factorials, does it make sense? Now we are going to give our pastor 5 factorials. Let us warm. We go. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, MG Lucky. Now, according to the program, we want to thank God because we are moving well, and we are moving as per the program. So if you look at your program, it is 11. When you look at your timing, it is 11:51. And so we are at session 4, which is Q&A. And so we want to, this is the time if you have questions about what has been presented, you bring them now. And then we'll also have way forward. Where do you see our zone? Where do you want our zone to be? Where do you see ourselves? And that's where we are going, because we know there's VD, there's what, and because we're supposed to start on time, we want to keep the time. And so we are giving this opportunity to everyone who has a question. I think we need to work around with the questions first, and then after we have gotten the questions, we'll answer them. Pastor Mulumba will be good with the answers. So mine is to ask if there are any questions. And then later on, we'll develop the way forward, and we'll move as per program. Thank you very much. Any questions? I want to see all those who have questions at this time. Yes, we have 3 people. 3, 4, 5? 5 people. 5 first.
While some of us were on the previous committee, the job description was more of a paradox. But I really want to thank you that you have started off with the orientation. I think this will guide us better. So once we have the job descriptions of the different functions, this will help us to perform. And I'm also kindly requesting that you edit and review where you have station stroke zone. Be very specific. What relates to the zone, let it relate to the zone, so that we're able to explain. You know, we have a lot of English, and the explanation down there in our congregation is also more of that English. So we need to be very specific. If it is the zone, let it be the zone management committee. Let the governance be clear, and then it will make it easier for us to explain. The third was on finances. The job descriptions of the functions of the management committee. Number 1, yes. Secondly is on being specific. Because I think from the administrative structures of the church, the zone has been hanging. And I've seen also from your presentation that you're talking about station, stroke zone, stroke conference. It's all a bit confusing. Let it be very specific on the administrative structures of the church. Where does the zone lie and its functions? That will make it easier for us to be able to explain. Other than that, people see the district as more of a better functionality as opposed to the zone. So the zone structure should be very, very clear in the church documentation and in the administrative structure. The third is on the finances, how we are able to support KMZ to function. With all of us here, I think it will, maybe before we leave, we can move a vote to see to it that the different churches, church districts within the zone, we are able to vote to have finances for the functionality of KMZ. I would want us to do that before we leave today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor, for the presentation. I think one of the challenges that we must acknowledge that we have in our church is a lot of duplication. So you'll find that the local church has an objective which is the same as the district, which is the same as the zone. There is no problem in that, but in the end, sometimes it causes conflict, especially for the local church member, and in terms of how they relate with the higher entities. So, but also the other thing that we've been grappling with as Kampala Metropolitan Zone is to contextualize, our work. Whereas we are making disciples, and that is the general theme, but for us, what does it mean in the context of Kampala Metropolitan Zone? We have many unique attributes, but also we have many challenges. Our people think and tend to want to say that they know more, whatever that means. So I feel that rather than trying to do everything with everybody, it would make sense for us to have a strategy meeting that calls those who we think are opinion leaders into one room, and then out of the strategy of Central Uganda Conference, we define what we are able to do as Kampala Metropolitan Zone. We want to make disciples, for sure, there's no question about that, but the how must be broken down for us to be able to do it at that level. And even if we do one or two things, I think it will be much more effective than trying to do everything across the board, because already the local churches are doing a lot of this business. The districts are already doing a lot of that business. What is it within the strategy that they are not succeeding with that now the zone can pick up and we reinforce to be able to tap into the resource of Kampala Metropolitan Zone? That way it makes us easily accountable, it improves the focus, but also helps the local church member not to be confused about how they relate with the zone. Because for them, as long as they are doing their business at the local church, the zone is not consequential. And that is the challenge that we have as leaders, to take this zone back to the people and break it down in a way that they can understand, but also relate with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. My name is Isaac Mpanga. I have had the privilege of serving on the previous zone council. And I have noted and repeated several times that the weakest link in the structure that you have just explained, at least as far as KMZ is concerned, and I'll emphasize KMZ because I've not seen this in the other zones, is the district council. I'll practically tell you that they are not there. Our leaders are here, your district leaders are here, they will tell you there are no district councils. I have observed. I would like to ask this. For example, anyone can produce the district minute that voted to create the church board, let's say at Bethel, or a church board anywhere. The growth we are attaining in KMZ is organic, it's consequential. Members have moved on to the northern part of Kampala and the eastern part of Kampala, and it's no longer feasible for them to travel to center. They find land, they start a congregation. Consequently, you'll give them a church board. But not because any district council sat and planned and gave, steered the process to create a church board. When I probed further why there are no districts, why the district councils are not central to the administration of the church, just like you see the church board and the zone and the conference, the explanation I got was that that thing called the district council is not even in the church manual. It is something that was cooked up. Now, interestingly, when that explanation was given to me, we were in a room where there were portraits of former presidents of Uganda Union, right from the time of the whites when it was still Uganda Mission. And I asked the person who was explaining to me, I told him, look at that board. So all those people in those portraits, they were all once district leaders. Well, it might not be in the church board, but that has been the church policy for several church boards to make a church district and have a strong district council that sits so often to look at and coordinate the affairs in those places. I find that district councils are weak, especially in elite congregations. For the reason that one of us has already alluded to, we all seem to know what to do, and anyone who is not among us telling us what to do is an outsider, and is not someone to be paid much attention to. Now, that attitude persists because, again, the broader leadership has allowed it to and has not emphasized the authority, for example, of these councils, of the district council. And because the district council is weak, consequently, whatever zone you create above it will equally be weak. The church in KMZ is run by church boards and their elders' councils. You are, by the grace of God, fortunate that they manage to evolve into these beautiful institutions, but not because there is these layers that you have explained guiding them, no, but because the congregations are by default set that way. Now, our challenge is to make sure that we breathe life in the structure that you have explained. Make sure that that life is relevant in the life of a day, in the everyday life of a Christian, and that it is a force for good. Usually these are resisted because they're also not force for good, they are disruptors. The district council becomes a disruptor. The elders resist going there. When they go there, then it is a center for bringing all form of disagreement. If we can attain coherency and have the councils as a force for good, Chila working very well, Chila as a district, making sure that there is forwards and backward linkages in churches. I'll tell you, for example, and I want to use this example. During the time of COVID, for example, large organizations, this is how large organizations like MTN Uganda survived. They would have, let's say, SIM cards in Uganda. And they don't have SIM cards in their Nigeria office. They'll say, just give us the stock in Uganda, take it to the Nigeria office. Then they'll get something they don't have in their Nigeria office and bring it to Uganda. There's backward and forward linkages in their chains. We don't have that. I could have an extra 300 plastic chairs that I don't need at KCC, and I'll notice an elder at let me go back to Chira. I'll have extra 300 plastic chairs that I don't need at Chira. And it won't occur to an elder, let's say in East Kampala, if he had a function and he needed more chairs, to come and take these ones. He would rather rent from a service provider other chairs. Now, that is a cost that can be, but it all comes from the fact that there is a missing link. Forums that are supposed to provide us platforms to communicate have not been empowered. I'll tell you, and because I've seen these things, I'll tell you, for example, when Chira District was inaugurated, there were people who were consecrated as members of the district council. You know the thing we do, stopped there. That council never sat until one time we asked, but how come? Say, hey, yeah, no, but we were just called there in the moment to pray. And we finished the prayer and went our way. So the point I am making, the structure is good. We need to breathe life into it. We need to implement it with the purpose and themes that Pastor, you've explained very well. It needs to live. It needs to be a living structure. We need to walk away from working in silos in our small church boards. If a small church board, let's say like KCC here, can pull off a project like that, if someone elsewhere in Chira can do the things they are doing, and Bunga and so on, imagine if all that was united effort, leveraging the structure we have just been explained to. I just want us as leaders to ponder that and see how much we can accomplish, both in terms of church infrastructure growth and church membership growth. Thank you very much, Pastor.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Pastor, for organizing this. Milka is my name. I represent Musda, and I was actually surprised to get a letter 2 weeks ago that I'm a part of the KMZ zone, and I thank God for that. However, what you have presented is quite exciting. What I would like to know is, I think the questions, number one, what does KMZ comprise of? Because there are many churches that we may not be aware of. Forgive my ignorance. Because now when you look at it, I think it's kind of, as my sister pointed out, it starts from, say, the conference, the zone, whatever. So now the district. So it's kind of complicated. Can we have, since this is a core committee, can we have a list of churches that comes under KMZ zone? Now, number two, are the church leadership informed about this? For example, I received the terms of reference on the WhatsApp group. I think it's kind of 68 pages or something like that. So I had to look for the specific terms of reference, which was quite exciting. Now, the communication flow probably could be a reason of what my brother has mentioned. But I think this is a new committee. We can always look forward to have something that we can always do better than the previous ones. So my first question is to have a list of churches that come or fall under the KMZ. Number two, what communication has the KMZ leadership done or conference has done to disseminate this information to the local churches? Because I'm just giving a scenario. Can Milka call a church and say, I am so and so, I am from KMZ zone? They say, who are you? What do you want? So we would like to know the line of communication there. Who should communicate to who and what? Number three, my question is, the terms of references are there, but can we come out with specific KPIs for individuals? At the end of the day, for example, I saw that you'd like to have a tenure of 3 years as specific as of now, and you also wanted to meet once every quarter. When we come every quarter, what are we going to discuss? Are we going to still have some of these presentations every time? Or are we going to report something? So if we come to report something, what are the KPIs that you expect from us? Then having said that one, I would like to also request a report from the previous group, if there is any, for us to continue. If there is nothing, then we may also produce nothing. So we would like to get a report. Personally, I would love to have a report of what the previous committee accomplished each year, such that we can take off. Because we cannot take off from nobody. I don't know if there is a proper handover that is supposed to be done, or are we just assuming, oh, I have got a letter, I have assumed this position. The same thing like, next committee, there will be a new committee and I will not hand over anything. So can we have those specified such that we coming here also is meaningful? Because I'm sure we have sacrificed something today to come here. So every time we come, I'm sure it must be more meaningful, such that we contribute for the growth of the church. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pastor. Yes, I'd like to thank my brother who's talked about the district, that they are not district councils. I may say that by God's luck, by God's grace, Kampala A has got a district council. Even yesterday, we were here discussing many issues. So I encourage all Kampala A people to know that we have a council running and we have ideas. But I would like to encourage my fellow leaders. We learned that a leader has followers. And those followers may not know what to do, but you're supposed to show them what to do. With me, I'm falling on the district for women, and I'm also part on the zone. But when it comes to the district, I would like to applaud the zone leaders, Madam Deborah Gassana and Ellen. They have done a great job. They put me on their WhatsApp groups. Now it's up to me to make sure that whatever information, I have to dissipate it to the different churches. As a district, we have, on the women's side, we have a WhatsApp group where you put all the information. But the challenge that is there, most members don't want to read messages. So you find that there is something which you want to go through, but people don't take those messages. So, dear people, sisters and brothers, let's be vigilant in reading information that our leaders give us. And Elder Milka was talking about information, also scarcity of information. I've been communicating to those the young girls who are on the we had to engage them on the women platform, just because we know that as ladies, they also have what they need. We are sending them messages. But some of them tell you, yeah, my course is over, I'm going, but I will send you the new member. You don't see. But they get the information, which also they are supposed to pass over to onto their friends. Secondly, I wanted to ask about the reporting. Now at the district level, I have a leader who is the district chairperson at the district council. And then I have a leader at the zone. Where am I supposed to send the report? To my zone leader or to the district leader? And how often Is it monthly, quarterly, when? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I request that we clap for those that have asked questions. They were sensible questions. The first person who asked was asking about the job description, Sister Gasana, although she has another newer name, but that is the original one. The job descriptions of these different levels. What is the zone there for? What about the station? What about the district? What about that? The organogram which I showed you, let me begin from down. From the church board, we are supposed to have the district. A district accommodates several church boards, and they sit to see how they can transact the different work plans from, again, the conference. But now today, of these days, you are hearing of the zone. A zone has more districts comprised into it. For example, KMZ has Bunga Central District. It has Chira Central District. It has Kampala A District. That is KMZ. And it was asked, how can we finance or to support the functions of such structures like the district or even the zone? That we need to vote in principle for the zonal funds. I will request Elder to prepare to say something about this, because I know you have been awed here enough to advise us on what we need to do. But allow me to say, the reason why we have poor district councils is not because the structure is poor, and it's not because the structure is wrong, but it is mainly because of the background of most of our congregations. You'll agree with me that there is not council. But unfortunately, mujja kukkiriziganya nange, I have personal indignation with Elder Muwonge. Ekyo mujja kukikkiriziganya nange. The devil put it there. And it's the reason why those of you who attended the devotion, I asked God, I cried to him to give me what to speak. And God guided me. Because I have personal indignation with Muwonge, who is in another church board. And when we were pastors here, we used to call them lions. This lion does not hearken to the roar of the other lion, and the other lion does not. It is the reason why we can't sit in this. Atenga in business, we walk freely. Elder, do you have about 50 millions? But when it comes to church, the lion in him does not work with the lion in me. And it's the reason why we don't have functional district councils. Number two, against what God has blessed us as KMZ members, we have resources, we have monies, but we are still slightly bit selfish that if we have our own here, we don't want anything to be shared with the other ones. To the level, waliwo omulundi gwe nayogera when I was still here. If we people had good love for one another and genuine, our congregations would have been the best, like close to where Jesus is. I used to say this: KCC may bring a preacher, maybe in family life. Very good one. I used to call it, let it that be maybe the main dish. Mount Olives brings another one. Very good maybe in women. And that maybe would be the cake. And East Kampala also brings another one. Very good maybe in VBS. But because of those not very holy indignations, you hear about somebody who has gone to KCC and you say, that is KCC. We are Olives. And some of the things are even online. Whereas, while the other person is at KCC, please attend. It is even online. And you enjoy. Because whatever they are discussing or delivering is for our good. When another one comes in East Kampala, please attend, because most of them are online. But because of those, and somebody boldly told me, you see, Pastor, those are KCC, we are this. I said, fine, but we have done our part. But if you led your congregations to attend all of them, because we are going to the same heaven. Ne munnange tukyali mu zi struggles as powers abakyalina obudde ku nsi mu struggling. Nze njagala kwebaza abakyala mu ngeri y'enjawulo musooke mwekubireko mu ngalo. The ladies in KMZ, they are one. They have fellowships. They don't mind oba oli waawa. When they put prayer and fasting, they are together. When they do, they are together. Fe abasajja fe tukyali muga sikolagana na muwonge. Nebwaleeta program nga nnungi, I don't work with him. Muwonge does not work with me. Kakati abaagala mugende maaso n'okwepika. But God wants to bring his church back. God wants to take us to heaven, and we are going in one heaven like this. So when there are such structures, the text which we used was, don't be overly righteous. Because up to today, somebody is still saying these structures are not in the church manual. And again, that very church manual is the one which says, if a territory thinks that it can put a structure, and it is in that very statement that the district has been put in place, the zone has been put in place, and the objective is to see that there is a close supervision so that we can grow and we can develop. However, after God speaks through his people, you are free to choose to take on his counsel or not. God cannot take all the time to again sit you. Newunyiza why they chose me to come to KMZ. But God knew why he chose me to come. I'm not speaking this because I am emotional, but I'm speaking to it. One time, somebody came to me after I knew the facts about him, and he wanted to come to me so that he can get married to some other person. Whereas I knew he was already married to this other person, but he had told this other person never even come to this church. And he was coming with now a new person. I told him, I don't know why God led me to know that you were related with this one. Now you want to bring this one. And I asked him, advise me. Now what should I do? Because I know you have this one. And now you want me to second you to get married to this one. Kati kyengamba, I was here in your district. And God, by his grace, led me to accept whatever was taking place, to know, Pastor, we don't know what's about the district. You made a district concept. But after we went through all that, even after you made the concept called a district, you led me to come and explain it to every church elders council. By God's grace, I was humble enough to say, okay, elders council, I have already the concept paper, which you people you did. So the council would say, yeah, we have now known the district. And the elders would say, now come and you explain that concept to the church board. I would put the folder on the church board. When the time comes to explain the district, I would say, anyone who has a question about the concept, and no one would question. I was humble enough to go that level. And they said, now we have known it at KCC. Now explain to you. So I go to the elders council of the Mount Olives, then the church board of Mount Olives, then East Kampala, wasting God's time when you knew. After I was humble enough to go through all that, one of the elders told me, Pastor, thank God that you have been humble enough. Do you know that we already did that search with the Pastor Ruwama before you came? In fact, in the office, we already have a concept of the district. We even sent people to Najanankumbi, to Entebbe, and even to Makerere to benchmark to find how districts work. And we bought into it. Now they were like seemingly teasing me. But even up to today, if you still can't believe that in our church structure, in the Central Uganda Conference, we have what we call the district. Now it is putting a structure called the zone. In due respect, Panay, you can make your choices. You can make your choices. I said I'm not emotional. Naye, we need to check ourselves. Because what I found out as a person is because I cannot work with the singing. This way. If I cannot sit with the singing in the meeting. If we are not humble enough to hear a suggestion from your fellow elder, sometimes we have internal maybe competitions according maybe to papers or even to resources, but now it is all up to you. But as I've told you, against all that is taking place, especially with men, the ladies are fellowshipping together, they are working together, they are doing everything well. We need to check ourselves. But as I requested, I'm going to request one of our elders. Gwemanyi, he has been humble enough again to buy into all these things. Now, it was said here that have already talked about that. Why it was just cooked. Up to today, people are saying it was cooked. But I have told you internally, in business we work as members. But when it comes to spiritual things, I cannot work with Paul Mugabe. And it's unfortunate. It's not a few years. By the way, when I was still here, I asked God for a theme of my life. Today I have a theme which says, not I, but Christ. If you are still holding on to something because of Chisache, God bless you. But for me, I have now learned a theme supposed to be seen, but Christ. If not holding a district council is because of Christ, go ahead. If not accepting this is not because of you, but it is Christ, please go ahead. So, otherwise, if it is for Christ's sake, there are some things. In fact, in my version, I said, in order to work even with your wife, there are some egos you have to sacrifice in order for a home to run. Even in your business, there are some egos you have to sacrifice in order to have to relate with anyone. By the way, even to relate with God, Do you remember somewhere in Matthew where Jesus even had to say, blessed is the person who does not even stumble over me? There are things that God can do and you do stumble over, but you just choose not to stumble. When God has done some things, they say, well, I don't know why, but well, you simply accept and swallow it. So, that link between the church boards and the district, and between the district and the zone, can be bridged if especially the leaders. I've loved somebody who said that leaders, where is the statement? Leaders have a following, and it is true. When Elder Singh says to his congregation, hello, the district is okay, and I'm going for the district meeting, the followers will do. When the leaders say, I don't know this thing about the district, and you have the Bible, you have even the church manual, it might be that you are overly wise or even overly righteous. But the Bible already warned us not to be overly those things. However, you can still choose what you feel is right. But we shall be answerable at the end of our life tenure. If we were a blessing to our congregations, or we allowed God to transact his businesses. Leaders who have a following, let them use their following to implement these structures. Very good idea. But this was another very good question. Where do I report? We think if we had bought into this, the church board activities would be sent to the district. And the district would collect all the reports from the different church boards, and they would report to the zone. The zone collecting from all the districts would send the report to the conference. That would be the right approach to reporting. Before I lay my microphone down, njagala kusaba Edda Mugabi, nkusuubira nti you have seen all these struggles. I kindly request you to make a statement. Naye mbasaba temumukuba emiggo, naye ayogera mazima bwe nsuubira. Sigamba nti mwe temuli bakwano bange, but I have come to love this elder for one reason, nti against what somebody would say, I know this, he has room to say, well, God through his church has brought this, and he has the humility to buy into it. Mukadebera ko kyoyogera for God's sake.
Good afternoon. Is it good afternoon? Yes, good afternoon. Pastor, thank you so much for this privilege and opportunity to say something about our church and our responsibility as leaders. As one of the leaders was presenting, that was Nalongo. She challenged us about the mission of the church. And so our mission is to make disciples of Jesus Christ who live as his living witnesses and proclaim the everlasting gospel of the three angels' message. Now, Pastor is talking about the financing and the budgeting of the district and of the zone, of the zone. And to me, this is what I think about the district and zone. And the issue begins with us as a sense of commitment to service. When we are committed for service, everything is possible. And when we come with a positive mind and think big about the responsibility that we have over, all the many questions that come in will be addressed. For example, when we're doing a budget, we drew a budget for the full year. A full year as Kampala Central Church. And now this involves all departments. And now during the budgeting process, we have all departments having an input. Now that the zone is coming in, I'm also challenged now. Because the zone is coming in at such a time when we're in April, going into April, but we've already budgeted. I know the provision of the zone wasn't catered for. But this is what I think. Can we make provisions in the following year's budgeting so that we make a provision for the district? Then from the district, we can have another provision for the zone. And I think in a way we shall be able to address the concerns, the requirements of our zone that we are coming up with. And when Madam Esther was saying the features of a good leader, and was talking about the art of leadership. So we need to be creative. We need to be innovative with a positive mind. And I believe when we are very positive, with a positive mind and innovativeness, every circumstance that comes, you design a solution to that specific challenge or problem that may be ahead of us. But at the end of the day, we want to decentralize. We want leadership to go to the local person at the bottom of our church, of our local church. So to me, it is my prayer that we take this with a positive mind. I know we shall score, we can achieve. Let us not ask many questions. My issue was the duplication. Because what is at the KCC, again, as a church board, maybe is being duplicated at the district. Then at the zone. So my challenge is, are we being effective in this? Because Brother Isaac was saying that can't the local church address some of these issues? But you see, we have different church boards, then different districts, then we'll make up a zone. Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. But I think when we work together as a team, we shall be able to achieve. The issue is coming with a positive mind, believing what we are saying, knowing our objective, that our mission is to spread the gospel. How we do it, let us have an art and be innovative, and I know we shall achieve this. I thank you, and may good Lord bless you.
idea which I had and which I still have, if we choose to work as a team, we can say, is KCC bring a children expert so that he handles children? And then we all buy into it and we all attend. Then Mount Olives brings the one for youth. And then we all get admonished. East Kampala brings the one for women. And we all go into it. But there is that sort of, but if we had bought into it, I tell you, our churches, as I said, would be almost close to the seat of Jesus Christ. Because you usually bring excellent speakers, presenters. But because it is East Kampala which has brought, we don't care whomsoever has been brought there. Because Mount Olives, we don't care. But if we sat as these elite churches, when one brings a speaker, like it used to be in the past, when a Randy skit would come, almost all of us would attend. So if we just buy into that unity and we discuss, for you, you bring for women, you bring for youth, for us we are bringing for children, and we are all into that. Number two, do you know that all, but when we
However, as I said, you are mature people, you are learned, you are elite, you can make a decision. God has shown us a direction. You're free to make your decisions. We are soon ending. I want to...
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ellen Muwonge. I wanted to basically point out two scenarios about the finances. There are district councils that are there and they're actually working. I'll give an example, Bunga Central District. It has 3 local churches and they actually meet. And when they were in one of their strategic meetings, they passed a minute that every church member every month should contribute at least 10,000 for that district, to cater for the district fund. And it has tried to work, and we actually use this money for the camp meetings, because camp meetings are done by the district. So I think we should also borrow this to support the zone. Then the other thing we do as women ministries. Now, women ministries, every January or beginning of year from the CUC conference, they call all leaders, district leaders, zone leaders, and we make a budget. Now, this budget will look at the activities at Uganda Union, then activities at CUC, then activities in our zones, activities at the district and the local church. So we actually, of course, the CUC, the Uganda Union and the zones do not have many activities. But we point out what we are actually going to do. We look at how much money we need to spend in those activities. And then we sum up the money and we say, for example, Kampala Metropolitan Women Ministries, your contribution for the whole year is about 4 million. And this money runs down to the district. We also divide it among the different church boards, so that the local lady at the local church is actually supposed to contribute like 5,000 shillings to support the activities up to Uganda Union. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that gives us a working model which we can start with. I know many of the questions for my elder were not answered. I take a bit of that responsibility and shall have a one-on-one with you when this is done, because I was part of this journey. I think we are struggling to find our feet, it is true. But I think by the grace of God, if we keep working, God shall give us a pace to work. I just wanted to share a testimony also related to how things work when we come together. Bunga Central District has 3 churches. One of them, which is the best known, is Bunga Central. The others are not as big. But we have a church within that district which is called Faithful Community Church Senge. And they wanted to acquire land. That land was priced at 250 million shillings. As a local church, they couldn't raise that money. And so they came to the district council and put their request forward. Fortunately, by the grace of God, we agreed that we would support the project as a district. And through the district and with the effort of the local church, we are at the tail end of concluding that acquisition of land. And it has been almost painless. If you go to Bunga district, nobody has been stressed. The model she shared, we've also used other mechanisms through trying to leverage the muscle of our big father or mother, Bunga, to do some things at CUC and so on and so forth. But I think when we get together, even for those who are struggling, we can help each other to basically come up. This is a big testimony for me. And I would like for us to embrace this because we can help each other to continue growing.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to add something small to what my brother was submitting on about the giving. if you look at the Adventist church, you realize that yes, thank you. I was saying that if you look at the giving of the church, and I'm giving an example of Kampala Central Church, you realize that 20% contributes to the giving of the church. And so we are trying to come up with what we call a second tithe. A second tithe will enable you run the operation of the church. But of course, it begins with everybody participating. We need to teach our people that for everything God has done for you, because a tithe is you're returning, it doesn't belong to you. But another 10% is the offering, and this works in the operations of the church. Now, when all these things come, it makes work easier for us to run the activities of the church. Many times, yes, we can have everybody participating with maybe 5,000, like my sister has put it. But many times you find that if we've not educated, if we've not taught, we may not achieve. And to me, my call is, can we go back in our congregations? We teach our people about the second tithe. And this will enable us to do these operations, to buy land, to do many activities, evangelism of the church. But better still, of course, this may not be part of this, but allow me pass it again, that the old days of having evangelism, having how do you call it? Efforts, public efforts. Now, person of late, I don't believe in it. Because one, it is very costly follow-up. And the people that you've preached to, many of them will go back. And my thinking is, how about if we began a primary school? We buy land, we put up a school, then we begin educating these young ones. In 5 years, those will be strong pillars of the church. You won't be teaching them on how to give because you've put this information into their minds at the onset. And so it is my prayer that as we go back, maybe some of us, we are not taught well about the second tithe, but we need to do the work in terms of teaching. Because with tithe, that is the return, you have to do it. But with the second offering, and I was challenged here when I see mics are on and off, I get challenged. I mean, Kampala Central Church. But anyway, thank you and may God bless you.
Let's give him a clap also. Nemulamu wange temwamukubidde. And my brother Mwange. Kati, what do I want to say? If we buy into these ideas, when I was still here, there were some members who were dreaming of some two big things. That as KMZ, what if we made a school, an international school? Remember, most of us have children. But not only our children, but even the children of our colleagues we work with. We have the capacity at the zone level to put two things in place. One is to make a school. Number two, at least to make a media station. Maybe TV or whatever. You can't bring that idea. It is true there was a leader who was saying, we should only have one television set in Uganda. But the current leadership of CUC says, whomsoever can do it. And even at union now level. But KMZ can make a wonderful, because almost all our churches are having these small media houses. What about now bringing everything that we make in those into this big media house, and we see how it can be publicized in all the elite group, whatever. When we know what to put on the screen, and it is well received and well prepared and well presented. So when we buy into these structures, God will do mighty things
which we wouldn't have done. I also buy into Elder Mugabe's whatever. You cannot call somebody who is an MP now to come, even if you put a public evangelism, whatever, at Sheraton. He will not come. But as KMZ, how can we reach out to our fellow elite people? It is through media. But we must be intentional to make something which is at their world class. That when you put anything onto their screen, they can say it is worth watching. Family life presentations, parenting series, whatever, development series, at the level of KMZ. And you give out these links to the MPs and whatever. Through that, they can say, yeah, I have been attending so and so on your link, on your whatever. And yeah, it's worth hearing. Then you can buy into their hearts. But now when we say, well, we don't know about a district, we don't know about so on, we are failing God's mighty hand. Who wanted to use us as instruments? As I told you, why are we putting these structures, district, zone? It's not for anything. It's not a concoction, but it is for mission, especially. So when we buy into this, you will see how God will work so mightily, so quickly, that whomsoever was supposed to know the truth will come to know, because we have done our honest part. I want to invite my brother, Pastor Murumba, to say something as we go into the conclusion. But let us first clap for ourselves for having attended and the ideas that are going into our minds. May the Lord bless you all.
Please do not get worried. I don't have very many words spoken, all of them. Good morning, ladies. Is it morning, afternoon? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming for this orientation seminar. I came a little bit late. My daughter is not well, and I was trained in theology school that it's always family first. It's family first before anything else, because Pastor Sally can take you through this seminar, but he cannot be a father to my daughter. He can never be that. So I'm sorry for coming late, but good enough he took you through whatever I was supposed to present. But one thing that I must say is thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you for your thoughts. I was trying to note some down, and we're going to take them back to the leadership. I realized that KMZ never matured from when we left it at Mount Olives, when was it inauguration or even, no, when we were at Mount Olives. I think that's where we prayed for the leadership. I think it never matured from there. That's where it stopped from your submissions, to some extent, from what I heard. And I think partly the leadership may be to blame for probably not following up on what is happening. Okay, we instituted that zone, but is it even working? Are things really moving? So we're sorry for that. But that really now wakes us up to follow up. But KMZ coming, initially we had the other zones, and we were part of, I think here you were part of Central Kampala zone, and Mount Olives was part of East Kampala. And from you people, maybe not you who are seated here, but people from the English-speaking churches requested for a zone of their own. Yes, oh yes. So that was an answer to a cry from the English-speaking churches that, please, can we have a zone of our own? Why? Because normally when we go for meetings, they're in Luganda, and some of our members do not understand Luganda. Elder Singh here knows Banange and Sevo and Oliotia. And yes, so it was a cry, and the leadership was literally answering to a call from the members. And it was not easy from the table, because I was on the table as we're discussing this. We're like, no, but what aren't we sowing seeds of division? Are we trying to say that these people are special? And surprisingly, among you people were like, no, we do not need our own zone. We know what will happen. We know when you give us a zone, it will not work. Some voices came. When you give us a, because we've tried, we had started moving with these other zones and we were benefiting. Now, when you form us, we know ourselves. And I remember attending one of your meetings and someone told me, but Pastor, you know, the things of district, I hear what, for us English-speaking churches, we are self-sufficient. We can work on our issues. We do not need other people. Someone told me that. We were in one of the meetings, and we do not need Church A to come to and help us solve things. But I think it's not about that. The zones do not come simply because KCC cannot work on their issues, or Mount Olives cannot work on their issues or whatever. But the zone comes to help the leadership above, in helping to monitor the local churches, all right, the districts. So when we have KMZ as a zone, so it helps the leadership, the Central Uganda Conference, to monitor. And when you look at the terms of reference, you will see, ensure this is done, do this, do that. There's more of monitoring. But again, we're not going to do everything as a zone, like literally everything. But we can come up with key issues, like Enelda suggested. Can we as a zone construct a school, that big project for a zone? We can handle that. And this school can be a center of evangelism. Can we have some of these big projects as a zone? All right. So we can look along those lines. All right. But let me tell you something. For the zones that are really working and doing their work, their job, the leadership of the conference is benefiting highly from them in as far as monitoring and ensuring that conference strategic plans are implemented at the local churches. The zones are doing a great work. For those who picked, this thing and ensure that it's implemented, they are doing a great work. And so it's our call that you also jump on board. Me, I understood something. Pastor Kajiba used to say that, when God says something, even when it doesn't make sense to you, you do it. So if we believe that we have a leadership and, they are proposing this, I understand you may not find the zone in the church money, but normally, the leadership is normally given this advantage of, when you see that a territory is large, okay? When you see that there are very many local churches, you can form them into this. And when you go to your church manual, you will see the title, district pastor. It's there. It's written 23 times, actually. When you go to the church manual, district pastor, district pastor. Now, even if you do not see it in the structure, because it's not there officially, all right? But you can ask yourself, you as an elite, as someone who's, okay, now if this church manual talks of a district pastor, what's the role of a district pastor? What does he oversee? Because it would omit it all the way and then say a pastor. But they say pastor or district pastor, meaning that in some areas, there will be a necessity for a district, all right? So now, and one of the areas is Central Uganda Conference. And Central Uganda Conference does not send to you a pastor, but sends you a district pastor. And so as the leadership, you sit and say, okay, now how are we going to work around this? I love Pastor Ted's words. When we had that contentious issue of women ordination, remember that? Remember that? Was it 2022 general conference session? I'm forgetting. But, after everyone saying whatever they said, and all that, and of course, quoting the church manual, spirit of prophecy, the Bible, and all literature that they could find. And when he was called to speak as the last person to speak on the issue, and then they go into voting, this is all he said. He said that when Christ was here, his prayer for the church was unity. He prayed that, Heavenly Father, may they be unified as one, as I am with you. And that's where he ended it. He said, he ended by saying that Christ left the church as one, and he expects to find it as one. And that's how he left things. And those few words, because the motion was, should we let divisions that feel like, just like Pastor was saying, should we let divisions that feel like it's okay to ordain women to go ahead, while others that feel like it's not, that they should not? And he was like, we cannot lead such a church. All right? So kindly, our dear esteemed elite class members, like Pastor was referring to you, but may I refer to you as Christians, okay? because we are fellow Christians, all right? Even when we feel like maybe this is not necessary, but I pray and I request you kindly, let us work together on this. Okay, where you see loopholes, you come to us, okay, okay, now, fine, we're okay with the zone, but this and this is not okay. I think we can do A, B, and C. You get my point? Yes, and we work together. Remember, we're not going to stay as English speaking congregations forever like this if Jesus doesn't come soon. This can go a long way to become a station. And then I feel, before you know it, it's a conference of English-speaking churches in Uganda. There's no harm in that. All right? But it will not just start from being a local church to being a conference. No, it cannot. So if we also envision that, if we see that in the future, that maybe we can have a conference of English-speaking congregations. But where do we start from? Where do we start from? Because if we're going to be a conference, then we need to come out, together as one to work on this. You get my point? Do you get my point? Because there are still complaints that when you come to conference programs, the language is a problem. Because at times, okay, we'll put someone to interpret, but before you know it, we forget. And Pastor Singh will attend one, and then the other one will be like, now those things. And he's right. Until you've gone to a place where you do not understand a language, you'll never get to know how offensive it is when people communicate in a language that you don't know. When you've actually taken your time to come, canceled your other programs, you come to a meeting and the language, you cannot follow. It's so offensive. It irritates. So, but now if we envision that, okay, now, I think it's high time that we had a conference of English-speaking congregations. And there's no harm in that. But where do we start from? We do not start from congregationalism. The challenge that we have is the world is becoming more individualistic, and that leads to congregationalism. Okay? But the spirit of congregationalism will not take us far. Are we together? Are we together, my friends? So kindly, let us embrace this, because it's coming in a good spirit. One thing that shocked me is when Elder Mugabe said that, I'm also perturbed. Now we are in March and the zone is coming. So I was like, okay, now the zone is just coming today. I thought the zone is already in place. It has been there. It's just change of leadership. Meaning that if we knew that the zone was there, in our plans, in our local church plans, we would have the zone already. This is just change of leadership. We are not instituting the zone today. You get my point? So that's why I say that, it's a shock to me that the zone died the moment we inserted it at Mount Olives. It's a shock to me, like so much of a shocker. But I want to thank the Lord that some departments are really working within the zone structure. Like the women, even the youth are trying. The youth are trying. Yes, they are. I get reports from the zone, like that. But the challenge we also get is when they hear voices from you, the leaders, about the zone. Now it also affects the ministries down. But I pray, if you guys have the challenges with the zone leadership, do not infiltrate it into the young ones. Please save us, we now the youth ministry. Save us, you have your own fights up there. But when this young man comes to you, now, Elder, what is about the zone? Hey, the zone is there. The zone is there, and work with, the young adult leader of the zone. And you work with adventure director of the zone. The zone is there. But up there, you can have your own, thoughts and whatever. But that's all I can say. But allow me thank you so much for making it here and coming and sharing these. Yes, very constructive ideas that we are going to take on. When we share this, doesn't mean that the other zones are doing so well. No, they are not. They're also limping somehow. There are also some challenges there. But, because they are local churches, someone told me that English-speaking churches are not local churches. I don't know where they get that from, because from the church of Manu, we have the local church as a level. Even in NAD, whatever. But someone told me that our churches are not local churches. The Luganda churches are the local churches. Yes, but we embrace that as a leadership, because we have to move together as a church. And yeah, actually he told me the reason that's why those things are working is because they are local churches. For us, we are not local churches. And I was wondering, okay, now in the structure, where do you fall? If you're not a local church, where do you fall? So, but maybe the word local is too local for them, But at times it's the devil that plays around with our minds, all right? So, but my prayer to you, my friends, is kindly let us embrace this, okay? Because when God is It's not guiding. When God is inspiring the church, he does not inspire it from the bottom. God inspires the church from the top. And you people who are scholars of the Bible know that, don't you? That even at one time when Miriam tried to, it wasn't good for her. So kindly, let us accept that the leadership was inspired in this line. But then our work is not like literally to take everything as it is, but to see through it and then you come and say, okay, now I think here we can correct this. I think here we can work around this. Here we can, like Elder Singh was suggesting. All right? Yes, and most of you suggested. He brought out, pertinent issues. They were so pertinent. Yeah, and I was there hearing, I was like, he's right. Yeah, he's right. But may God bless us all. May God be with us in Jesus' name. I love you so much, friends.
We want to thank you very much, Pastor Dunstan, and I want to give you the assurance. Died. We're only pausing to look at how things we can do things better, and we were just pausing to look at how things. We have only stayed there for a year and some months. You can't. I mean, you can't put us at a scale of 3 people of those who have been around for 3 years. But we are going to move, Pastor. And the next time you come here, you will be surprised. I just want to join those that have given the claps, but to say thank you very much, Pastor Chisache. Thank you very much for sparing this time. We want to thank you very much. We want to thank you very much, Pastor Dunstan, for coming. I want to say that the district councils are trying. They are trying. And they are working. I have tested that one of Bunga. I have seen them. And the one for Chira, Brother Isaac, the one for Chira is picking up. It is on fire. We left it on fire, so it is moving. It is spreading. But we also want to tell you, Sebo, we are going to work, friends. We want to pray for those who are leading at the district councils, that they will work, really. But the structures are there, and we know that they are going to be functional. Someone wrote it this way and said that go where there is no path and leave a trail. So the truth is, maybe there's not been a clear path for KMZ, but I believe and trust that where there hasn't been so much a clear path, we are going to move there as executive members and leave a trail, so that those who will come after us after the 3 years will find a path. So I am praying that the Lord will also use us. And then let us forget what is behind us, and let us push towards the goal that is before us. And I believe that when we do that, we'll be able to move, and I can tell you the sky is no longer the limit. Heaven is the goal. We will be there. I want to thank you very much, and I want us to join our hands and clap for our leaders first, and then we'll also clap for ourselves. I think you did it wrong, because I think there was no warming up. I think there was no warming up. I think we can pick from what Lucky taught us. Let's warm up. Thank you very much, and we believe we will work. And can I see all those who say we will pray for those who are ready to work? Let us pray Dear Lord, we want to thank you for those that have put up their hands. We want to thank you for this committee. You have chosen it for your own good. We are weak, but because you have chosen us, we know that you will enable and you will give us the strength too. Please do, because we need it. And we ask, Lord, that where we fail, may you come through for us and hold us with that right hand of righteousness, because you have promised. Do our business as we do your business. Bless our families, bless our children, bless our spouses, and best of all, Lord, we ask that those around us, those that we lead, when we come out from meeting you, may they see that we have been with you, who is all our righteousness. Thank you for our leaders. Thank you for Pastor Dunstan. Thank you for Pastor Sally. Thank you for Nalongo. We pray, Lord, that may you bless them as they lead us. May you bless them, Lord, as they work for you. May your blessings go with them everywhere and everything that they do. And we ask that may you expand their territories, Lord. Keep us in your fold, because we need it. And Lord, we pray that after we have preached the word, and after we have led many, may we also be found ready to meet you. Thank you, because you've heard our prayer. We'll be leaving this place. We ask that may you go with us and keep us safe until we see each other again. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen and amen.
You people, you are a giant. Just that. But the moment you disown yourself as Christ did, and you allow him to esteem mighty things to be done, and God's name will be glorified. Again, the other, maybe whatever is in you, you will see that it will get better returns than what it is today. The moment you disown yourself for the sake of Christ, we shall be so far away. The Lord bless you. I have been humbled to have been sent here, and thank you for accepting to come. The Lord bless you so much.
We are going to have a group photo here, and then lunch will be here. Remember, there is no fellowship without swallowship. I also want to say that we have a lot of good books at the back. Books that will strengthen your faith to work. Have you read Leading the Leader? All those are there. Sister Regina will be there to serve you.
I think it is important that the members present introduce themselves. It is not always true, and we cannot assume that everybody knows everybody. At least the pastors we know. But some of us do not know each other. Of course, you will know you. Elder for a long time. My name is Jonathan Mwonge from New Life. I also, by the grace of God, was recently pushed to be the vice chair of this zone, which is about to take off. I wanted us to just do a quick introduction so that everybody can see everybody. And then it helps. So that when you meet somebody, you don't say, I remember that face, but I don't know the name. Thank you. I think we'll go here next.
Thank you. I already introduced myself. I'm Ellen Mwonge. On this committee, I am the CUC representative. And the women on the zone, I am the vice chairperson.
Milka from Musda, and in the KMZ, I'll be in charge of the stewardship and land matters. Thank you.
My name is Rosie Olisigira. On this committee, I'm to represent the elderly, but the women, I'm a district leader, Kampala A, and I worship from Nalumunya SDA.
I'm Merab Buliva. Township at Seguku SDA. I'm assistant in a group of elderly. That is zonal what? Known as Mother Julian.
Good afternoon.